There is an opinion that the United States and Russia are separated by several thousand kilometers. In reality, these countries are much closer to each other than it may seem. In the middle of the Bering Strait, you can find the Diomede Islands. Ratmanov Island belongs to Russia territorially, while Kruzenstern Island belongs to the United States as part of the state of Alaska. The distance between them is only about 4 kilometers. Today, you will find out why it would take an entire day to cross this distance, why the two countries haven't connected them with a bridge yet, what an ice curtain is, and how the locals live in the changing climate conditions. Let's get started. The Eskimos began settling the Diomede Islands more than 3,000 years ago. The first European to discover the strait between Asia and America was Simeon Dezhnev in 1648. Later, the strait was named after Bering. Additionally, Dezhnev reported the existence of 2 islands, one of which was found by Vitus Bering's expedition in 1728. In 1732, the Diomede Islands were first mapped. Modern Russian names were assigned to them in 1815 by Lieutenant Otto Kotzebue of the Russian Navy. In 1867, Alexander II sold Alaska to the Americans, believing at the time that these lands held little value and were costly to maintain. Russia received a mere $7.2 million from the deal. For comparison, a single 3-story building in the center of New York, built in 1872, known as Tweed Courthouse, cost the New York State Treasury about $12 to $13 million. So Alaska was almost twice as cheap, despite being slightly smaller in size than Libya, which ranks 16th among the world's largest countries by area. After the sale of Alaska, a national border was established between the Diomede Islands. Initially, these changes didn't greatly concern the locals. The residents of the Bering Strait region always considered themselves one people, up until 1948. Families living on different islands used to visit each other without major issues. However, after World War II, relations between the USSR and the USA deteriorated, leading to the closure of the border. As often happens in such cases, ordinary people suffered the most due to politics. The military settled on Ratmanov Island, and the civilian population had to move to Siberia. As a result, the border became known as the Ice Curtain by analogy with the Iron Curtain, a term popularized by Churchill and marking the beginning of the Cold War. But over the years, the so-called Ice Curtain began to gradually melt. On August 7, 1987, American swimmer Lynn Cox, who had previously swum the English Channel, the Strait of Magellan, and circumnavigated Cape of Good Hope, crossed the distance from the American island to the Soviet-owned island. The water temperature at the time of her swim was only 6 degrees Celsius. Brave local Alaskans accompanied her in kayaks. She completed this journey in 2 hours, for which she was congratulated by the presidents of both nations, Mikhail Gorbachev and Ronald Reagan. Lynn Cox is often referred to as a symbol of the end of the Cold War. In 1989, the country signed an agreement allowing residents of the Bering Strait region to make mutual visits. The Ice Curtain finally collapsed in 2015 when the United States completed all the formalities. According to this agreement, indigenous peoples of Alaska could visit their relatives in the Chukotka region and vice versa. To go on a trip, it was necessary to receive an invitation from relatives from a designated area. Stays as guests were allowed for no more than 90 days. It is difficult to say how things stand in 2023, as there is no mention of it in the media. As mentioned earlier, the Diomede Islands are separated by a short distance of about 3,750 meters. However, if you want to feel like a time traveler, then overcoming them is a great way to do it. The islands are divided by the international dateline and are in different time zones. The time difference is 21 hours, with Russia ahead of the United States. Therefore, Ratmanov Island has received an unofficial name, Tomorrow Island, and Kruzenstern Island is known as Yesterday Island. This interesting fact became widely known among international viewers in March 2021, when a TikTok blogger posted a video explaining how you could quickly get from Russia to the United States. However, he lied a little bit. Due to climate change, solid ice doesn't form between the islands as it did in the past. He also talked about the time difference. The post went viral and gathered millions of views, after which many media outlets reported on it. It was a genuine discovery for Americans. The island's unique characteristic offers room for imagination. For instance, you could celebrate your birthday twice a year or first celebrate in the new year on Ratmanov Island, and then go back in time to celebrate again on Kruzenstern Island. Unfortunately, it is not that easy to move between them. Currently, there is no permanent population on Ratmanov Island, only military personnel. The first border guard unit arrived here in 1941. They brought a 6-room wooden house, a warehouse, and a sauna on a ship from Vladivostok, along with supplies, clothing, and weapons. Life in these parts is harsh. Winter lasts for 9 months, and it's not just the very low temperatures, but also the strong winds that have to be endured. Additionally, the island is shrouded in dense fog for about 300 days a year, which makes helicopter flights almost impossible. They only arrive for 2 to 4 months to deliver food and mail. In the military part of the island, only contract soldiers serve, and they have access to basic modern amenities like television, telephones, and more. On Kruzenstern Island, or as Americans call it, the Little Diomede, there are no military personnel. There's only one settlement called Diomede. When you see this settlement from above, you get the feeling that it's one of the most remote places on the planet. It is inhabited by an Eskimo community of just over 100 people. Today, there are about 30 buildings on the island, including permanent residential houses, mainly built in the 1970s and 1980s. Despite its modest appearance, the settlement has a laundry facility, a medical office located on the upper floor of the same building, a school with a classroom that has a view of the Russian island, a library, a helicopter pad, and a satellite antenna for television, telephone, fax, and internet access. The store supplies on the island are limited to a small amount of food, beverages, clothing, firearms, ammunition, and fuel. Anything that cannot be purchased in the local store needs to be ordered by mail from Anchorage, which rarely arrives during the winter. As in many other indigenous Alaskan settlements, the import and sale of alcohol are prohibited. Electricity is provided by diesel generators, and water for winter use is sourced from a mountain spring, treated and stored in a large reservoir. Due to the perpetual cold, laying underground pipelines is challenging, so residents have to manually transport water. The work on the island is mainly centered around the settlement, which includes a post office, a school, and a medical office. Despite the high prices of goods, Eskimos who have become accustomed to store-bought food do not depend so much on hunting and gathering. Nevertheless, some people collect eggs from seabirds, which are widespread in the northern hemisphere. They hunt walruses and make souvenirs that are popular on the mainland of Alaska. The average annual family income on the island is about $25,000, which is not very high due to the high prices and dependence on imported food. For example, a regular package of laundry detergent costs $45. In general, life on the island is not only challenging, but also expensive. In recent times, climate change has added to the problems faced by the Eskimos. Each year it gets warmer, affecting their traditional way of life. The younger generation has started to consider relocation, but despite this, travelers note that the locals seem happier than many residents of big cities. In recent years, bilateral relations between the United States and Russia have significantly deteriorated. Many experts believe that a new Cold War has already begun. In such circumstances, the construction of a tunnel or bridge across the Bering Strait seems like a distant prospect, although the project is entirely feasible. Unfortunately, despite public attention and support from high-ranking officials in various parts of the world, the mega project has not raised enough funds to begin construction. Perhaps the lack of decisive funding can be attributed to the fact that the hypothetical economic benefits of the tunnel are quite uncertain, as it would connect Alaska with the least populated part of Russia. Additionally, the harsh weather conditions pose a significant challenge, allowing construction only for 5 months a year. But there is still no doubt that in the future someone will again raise the question, can we finally connect the two continents? And do you think it will be possible to realize this mega project in the future? Share your opinion in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the Kara Show channel. Also, check out our previous videos. See you later.